Hey, everybody, it's David Fine from the Retro Wrestling Rewind. Tonight, folks, we have an amazing show. We have the great Mike Steyer and the great Tyler Peters back on the show, and we're talking Halloween Havoc 1995. So, folks, get back, relax. Do you like Yetis? Well, after the show, we'll convince you why you need to invest in the Yeti. Now live from Bad Street, USA in Atlanta, Georgia, Nashville, Tennessee, and Kenton, Ohio, it's the Retro Wrestling Rewind.
£238 in the black corner. From St. Louis,
Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his leg set on the loser.
Number one, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
his opponent weighing 236 pounds in the white corner. From Van Nuys, California.
Welcome into another edition of the Retro Wrestling Rewind. As always, I am David Fine. The man to my right, the great Tyler Peters, I call him the new voice of our generation, the dulcet sounds. Folks, if you haven't checked him out on Facebook, just type in Tyler Peters. He has a great voice, great singing voice. And the man that's below, looking up at us all the way from Kenton, Ohio, the great Mike Steyer. Oh, man, folks. Halloween Havoc from the year 1995. All I can say is bring on the Yeti. Bring on the Yeti. Oh, my God. Bring on the Yeti.
First of all, I need a new hometown. Can I have like Parts Unknown or something?
Yeah, I mean, you can be from Parts Unknown. I mean, you can also be from Bad Street. Yeah, I don't know, but folks, last week we had a great show. Unfortunately, Mike was not able to be with us, but he is back with us today.
Is that why it was a great show?
I mean, I wasn't gonna say that. I mean, I think Tyler said that in a text. I don't know, but I don't want to.
It's okay.
I don't want to start anything between us. I guess we're the Three Stooges of podcast. No, maybe I don't know.
That's okay.
Hey, that's okay. But Halloween Havoc 1995. It was a great show, but why did we pick it? I mean, I know, Tyler, you threw it in the old hopper and said, "Hey, let's talk Halloween Havoc 95." Why?
I'm guilty just because that was an interesting time. And looking back at this pay-per-view, I couldn't help but laugh. I'm like Mike. I got a smile. There was some good stuff, but definitely some weird cartoonish stuff. I know we can't wait to talk about all that. So.
I mean, and Mike, what were your thoughts whenever you found out that Tyler said, "Hey, let's cover Halloween Havoc 1995"?
Well, I wasn't a big WCW fan, but I had learned about this stuff over time. I didn't know this was the Yeti's big shot here. And I looked over the matches beforehand. I thought, there's some good people who are wrestling. We'll talk about Johnny B. Bad. I was excited to see him wrestle. And, of course, Randy Savage is my favorite guy. And then you look at it, and it's like there's some good wrestlers on this. But like as Tyler said, holy cow, did it get wacko at times. But there was some good wrestling, but it got wacko at times.
Yeah, and it was weird. We were talking, before we went on the air. You had said you didn't know that, Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero was on the show, but they weren't actually on the show. That was taped for a main event. Just kind of talk about. I mean, we didn't see him unless you watched the main event. Which, who in their right mind would watch the main event? We had a couple of matches. We had Eddie Guerrero, Disco Inferno, Paul Orndorff, the Renegade, Chris Benoit, and Dean Malenko, a ginormously awesome tag team together, taking on the Blue Bloods. And the fourth match on main event was VK Wall Street taking on Craig Pittman. Let's kind of start. I mean, I can't believe. I cannot believe that was not on the live pay-per-view. I mean, Craig Pittman versus VK Wall. That should have been the main event. The heck with the Giant versus Hulk Hogan for the WCW. I mean, come on, that should have been the main event of the show.
We wouldn't have got the Yeti though.
It might have been a better technical wrestling match.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, we're going to kind of talk about that because, um, yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm not even gonna. I mean, this contest, this pay per view had a monster truck match that was taped the day before. I mean, come on, I mean, who? I mean, you know, sorry for my language. Who was booking the shit? Seriously, I don't know who was behind the booking desk. I mean, come on. I mean, they didn't have Chris. I would have better had Eddie Guerrero, Disco Inferno, maybe Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko on the main pay per view than Kurosawa taking on Road Warrior Hawk.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I mean, those matches should have been on there. Yeah,
Yeah,
featured somewhere.
yeah, I'm not really sure, but I mean, any of these matches, any of these wrestlers in the main event part of the show, the dark matches. I mean, Eddie Guerrero, Disco Inferno. I mean, what were your thoughts on Eddie Guerrero? I mean, he was freaking amazing. I loved Eddie Guerrero. He was a great wrestler. He was a great champion, and of course, we lost him. I'm saying this way too early. I say that a lot about wrestlers. I mean, maybe wrestlers who maybe die in their 80s, 90s, but a lot of wrestlers don't make it past their mid 30s.
For me, he was just charisma and athleticism. I could always tell when he wrestled. He had an odd body shape, but he was like really, really muscular, so you knew that something was up with him. But man, he was so technically sound. He was killer on the microphone. The stuff he did with China, I thought, that could have been a throwaway at any point, but man, he just ate that up, and the fans just absolutely loved him. And I don't know that did he die in his prime. I think he had a whole lot of time left that he could have wrestled. So yeah, he's one of the greatest wrestlers that we've had.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler, what were your thoughts on Eddie Guerrero? I mean,
Yeah, he died way too soon. One of the best, I think, to me, had great matches, not only WCW, but you guys touched on it when he was doing that with China and taking on, Mysterio and then beat Brock Lesnar to become champion. I mean, that was very cool. What a moment. And it's just a shame that he died so young. Like Mike said, he was still in his prime. I don't think he was near done all he could accomplish.
yeah, I mean, some of the wrestlers that we've talked about in the past that have died, tragically, like Owen Hart or even a Chris Benoit. I mean, just think if Benoit had taken a different path in his life, how good of a producer or a trainer. I mean, these three guys died too early that they were not able to. I mean, I'm sure that they mentored younger wrestlers, on the way up, but how much of an asset to the business do you think they could have been, in your opinion, if they hadn't died so early and, tragically and, so early? Do you think they could have been an asset to the business and maybe NXT or AEW?
Yeah, definitely. I think that they would be ones that would take that kind of role. But even though they passed well before they should have, I still think that they are influencing today's wrestlers because that's who they grew up on, and proving for the most part, those three, that you don't have to be a giant in the sport to be able to do well. As long as you are athletic, as long as you're technically sound, and that you can do interviews and other elements of wrestling, that you can make it. So I can see their influence on these younger guys that are wrestling today.
Your thoughts, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean they've influenced wrestlers. I think it's a shame. We talked about it. Why are they in dark matches on main event? They should have been on the main card. That right there shows you they should have been pushed in main events right away, but they were always looked to be cruiserweights, which was great, taking nothing away from that division, but that was the whole issue. And that's why they jumped eventually to Vince, because with all due respect, I was a WCW fan, but I can see that they just were not utilized the way they felt they should. And that they, failed to follow the booking, that was going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting, but, kind of get into the as they'd say, the meat and the potatoes of the program. The first match right out the chute was for the TV title. Johnny B. Bad taking on Diamond Dallas Page. Yeah, I mean, DDP was a TV champion. Johnny B. Bad. I mean, I I'm a big DDP fan. I mean, I've always been a big DDP. I mean, I would say DDP Mark. I mean, I've met him a couple of times. It have a funny story. I went over to his DDP yoga studio here in Atlanta, was doing some DDP yoga for the first time. I was signing up, talking to a guy who was a wrestler as well. I turned around, didn't even notice. I ran right into him, almost knocked him on his ass. I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't have wanted to get diamond cuttered, in the middle of his DDP studios. But he is I mean, from where he went as a manager, like in AWA to WCW, to everything that he's done. I mean, what were your thoughts on Johnny B. Bad and Diamond Dallas Page?
DDP started late. He had a late career, and he really got better with age. His WWF run was forgettable, but when he became champion in WCW and the Diamond Cutter took off, and I really enjoyed that aspect of him. And then Johnny B. Bad, again, it was not a WCW guy, but I knew who he was, and I knew how skilled he was. And you really saw this in his match. But here's where I like going back and watching these to see, I know what Diamond Dallas Page would become, but then on the flip side, I know that Johnny B. Bad ends up, not having much of a career in WWF and losing his wife to Brock Lesnar.
That's true.
I'm not I will admit it on this live show. I hate Brock Lesnar. I am not a fan of his. I mean, it's funny. We went to, kind of off topic, we went to WrestleMania in New Orleans one year. It was the year he beat The Undertaker. He walked to the ring. He walked to the ring and he was blown up. He was purple and red as can be. I'm kind of glad that he is not in WWE right now. But I'm not surprised he won, Sable over, because, I mean, just think Brock Lesnar could probably kick anybody's ass legitimately in any kind of match. I would just say, okay, you can have her. I will find someone else.
Sure. Who's going to argue that? Yeah.
I did hear Miro did an interview on Jericho once, not that long ago, and he was talking about that. And he said, I found some messages that she was talking to this guy, and I was all fired up about it. And all of a sudden I found it was Brock Lesnar, and I'm like, okay, because he knew he couldn't do anything to him.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry if someone approached my wife and it was Brock Lesnar, I'd be like, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm just going to wipe my hands. Good luck with that, because I am not fighting you, because I don't want to get killed. I mean, I may be able to win the fight, but I'll be dead. So what's the point? But
sure.
I mean, but yeah, Johnny B. Bad. I mean, what were you? He mellowed his gimmick, his Little Richard gimmick, over the years. I mean, were you a fan of like when he started, kind of being flamboyant and being more Little Richard than he was towards the end of his career? I mean, which arc did you like better? I mean, which character?
I like the flame. Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, my bad. I was just going to add, I think Dusty Rhodes, saw a lot of himself as far as the charisma, like you were talking about, in his character. And, going back, you made a great point, David, about the Tutti Frutti, being like the Little Richard character. I think DDP, both these guys had a great work ethic to get to their spots in the business, and it showed in that match. And to me, that's easily probably the best match on the card. There's one that I would pick closer, but that's all I was going to add. So just, I was a big fan of their work.
I mean, Mike, I thought that when he first came out as really flamboyant Little Richard, like they say on Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with it, but he was more of, he accentuated the attitude and the flamboyancy of Little Richard. And he was a great wrestler. No.
You didn't see that so much in this match, but I was a fan of it. I mean, I think it was different than everybody else. And the thing is, he could bring it in the ring. If he couldn't bring it in the ring, then that wouldn't have worked so well for me. But since he was able to be a good technical wrestler and had the look, which again, he goes to WWF and that just falls to pieces. But I was a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the entrance, how it was different too. I think that was a good surprise because they had like a stunt double, and all of a sudden he comes from behind. And I tell you what, hey, I got to admit, I was like any guy. I had a major crush on Kimberly. I forgot just how beautiful. I'll just be honest. I think she was it, man.
Well, I mean, that didn't go. I thought it was going to. I didn't know which way we were going to say to crush Mark Merrow. I don't know. I mean, I don't judge. I don't.
You know
This is a no judging zone. I'm just saying, but I can understand that there's a phrase that I've used a lot on the show. She was all the way live. She was really pretty, and I've heard she's super nice. So I mean, if you're pretty and nice, that's good. But yeah, I mean, this first match, I mean, it was. I mean, it was a good first match. I mean, what were your thoughts on him being the TV champion?
I thought it was good. I mean, I think this was a good point in his career because for him to win the TV title, they built it up nicely. I'd love your guys' thoughts on the angle before that when Max Muscle admitted he got the tires. And then Johnny B. Bad's like, I'm a bad man or something, then hits DDP on that Saturday night because Gene's really selling it like, Johnny B. Bad, where are you at? You had a United States title match with Sting. And he's like, I had car trouble, man. I couldn't do it. And it was great. I think it was great.
I was not. I mean, I'm sure you're a big fan of Max Muscle, weren't you?
Yeah, man. I couldn't help it.
I mean, if you had a wrestling figure of Max Muscle, you'd probably have it. But going on, the next match of the night had actually one good wrestler in it, and then the Zodiac. Randy Savage versus the Zodiac. Your thoughts on this debacle of a match?
Well, first, I want to bring out my first guest of the night, which would be my Zodiac figure that I just made. So Zodiac, how do you feel about the match? Yeah, it was terrible. But at least we got the Macho Man interview out of it, which was hilarious. But this was it was so bad. Macho did his thing. He was good, but then I blinked and it was over.
Yeah, I mean, the Zodiac, aka Brutus the Barber Beefcake, aka 9,000 other things. Which gimmick in his entire career were you a fan of the most?
The Barber. Yeah. It has to be the Barber. Anything else is just ridiculous.
I mean, Tyler, what was your...
just a terrible match to me. Just was a match to fill time to get Macho Man to the Luger match, to be honest. I know I'm going fast forward, but that's really the point. There was, other than just Zodiac being a job guy, really, because they fought outside. The best part of it was the fan getting in the ring. To me, that was the most exciting thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched some of those things on YouTube about, the top 10 fans getting in the ring. I mean, folks, if you're watching this and you go to a wrestling match in 2020, well, you shouldn't get that close to people because, there's that virus out there. And well, that's not the only reason you shouldn't get close to wrestlers, but that's for another podcast. I mean, come on. These people, even if they're not trained professionals, they'll still, their adrenaline is flowing so much in that match. They're just going to punch you and beat the ever-living crap out of it. And you're going to go to jail or get the crap beat out of you. I mean, I'm sure, Tyler, you're participating in an event this Saturday up in Nashville, correct?
I am. Yeah, it's called Halloween Hardcore Heaven. The title itself is cool. It's it'll start at 8:00 that time. 7:00 is when the doors open. I'm going to have some sort of role in it. I'm not sure yet, which is, speaking of surprises, will be fascinating. But it's going to be a great event. Sabu's going to be there. And it's going to have Camille, the Brick House, and taking on their women's champion. And so there's some neat stuff. Coastal Championship Wrestling's a good promotion out of Florida. So
and folks, if you're there and he tries to run in the ring, he's actually a part of the program. So don't go tackling him because we need him for next week's show. I mean, Mike and I, we're a great tag team, but we need that third man for that 6-man tag team podcast belt that we're trying to get. Maybe a tournament coming up pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, good luck with that, and we'll definitely be promoting it. And because you've done some ring announcing for them, correct? Or not for
Yeah,
them, but
I got to do at least one match because I was kind of learning under a more veteran ring announcer. So it was cool. I could tell I was new because it was so funny. The mic went on. You could tell I was so nervous. Like, yeah, you may want to turn it on. I'm like, uh-oh. Okay. But then when I did it, people were like, you got a good voice. It's just like, you can tell you're a rookie. You got to learn, but you did okay.
that is not as bad as I had been in the business for 10 years, and I worked a promotion out of Atlanta that had worked a while, and I read the wrong name. I think I said the wrong name of a tag team coming out, and it was not and the guy that I introduced, the tag team I introduced, it was a tag team that you would not want to make a mistake in introducing them because they would literally probably kill you or kick your ass. And the guy said, "Oh, of course you're going to get the other teams wrong because you're a butt kisser." I'm like, dude, I mean, not having the microphone on is bad, but introducing the wrong tag team under a different name, I think for some reason I was thinking about WCW back then. I don't know why, and I froze up. But folks,
It happens.
the trials and tribulations of ring announcers. I mean, I know, Mike, you do some radio stuff. I mean, have you ever made a flub on air?
Yeah, it just comes with the business. I call soccer games for radio, and I'm going a mile a minute, so I don't remember anything I say until someone comes up and says, "Well, you said this." I'm like, "Nope, didn't know that, and probably didn't mean it. It just came out." So it happened.
In the soccer, do you do play-by-play, or are you the color man?
I do play-by-play.
That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I would be more of a play-by-play because, calling the game or, calling a baseball game or football game. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I think, I don't know if Mike, if you've ever done, play-by-play or color or whatever. It's like, there's such a vast difference in then the two jobs, don't you think?
Right. Yeah, I do color for basketball. We have, a voice for our basketball team, and then I'm more so for our soccer team because he doesn't know it very well. And it's just about timing, and it's about knowing each other's cadence, which takes a little bit of time. But I prefer being the head guy, especially for soccer, because I train myself to pause and then let someone else come in or, keep it going if they don't jump in with anything. So,
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that you just learn. It's on the spot learning. So the next match we had on the card was Kurosawa with the great Colonel Robert Parker taking on Road Warrior Hawk.
Yikes!
Your thoughts on this match?
Was this during when Hawk was basically kicked out of the WWF?
I think so.
Yeah,
and he had his solo run. Because
Mhm.
otherwise this didn't make sense to me at all. And it was just,
No.
it was awful. And I hate to say it, he was past his prime. He was kind of stiff in there, but this was just a joke match.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of made me sad. I mean, because I remember the Legion of Doom, Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal and their prime. And this just was not Hawk at his prime. I mean, it was sad. I mean, who doesn't like Colonel Robert Parker? I love Colonel Parker, except for we're kind of talking about, I've been talking like with my friends and, about different things that you could say and do back then that you can't do now. Remember whenever Colonel Parker, he was the manager of Harlem Heat and with Sister Sherry, and they were at the Sturgis, South Dakota bike rally. It was outdoors. They were facing the Steiner brothers. Do you think that gimmick could be done today without anybody, being up in arms, where a white, I guess, plantation owner, as he thought himself, was managing two African-American wrestlers who had chains on? It's interesting. I'm just talking about WCW. This is interesting what WCW thought was politically correct.
They couldn't have done it today. No, for sure. But no, I thought the match was bad. I think it was awkward, like you talked about it. I don't think either man felt comfortable. That's why the finish was so weird. with Parker. I mean, it was a great heel finish with the robe, but I didn't understand why he didn't win unless he was legitimately injured with that angle or selling that angle, or you had to build up Kurosawa with the win with the talent exchange sometimes with Japan. So that's all I took away from that match.
I mean, what were your thoughts, Mike?
Same thing. It was just you have these throwaways in there that what they call it shitter matches. Because sorry, that you have to go if you have to go to the bathroom. So you're like, whatever. But you know what? At the same time, we asked why this match might be on the card rather than some of the earlier matches. It's because Road Warrior Hawk. I mean, who doesn't want to watch Road Warrior Hawk and see him? Unfortunately, then you come away with yikes. He's not what he used to be anymore, but he's still a name. He was still a draw.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it was, I mean, he was still a draw. He just wasn't as, popular as he was back then. And the next match we had in the card is the guy you're going to get to meet, and hopefully you won't say anything rude against him, the great Sabu, taking on Mr. JL, Jerry Lynn. Your thoughts on this?
I thought this was next to the Johnny B. Bad Diamond Dallas Page match. This is probably the next best match. The way Jerry Lynn and Sabu, their chemistry in the ring, and they could use the ropes, and they did a lot of innovative stuff. This is one of the matches that Sabu didn't have to use chairs or tables. And to see the Sheik with him, the original Sheik, was cool. Because Michigan, it made sense. They had that nostalgic feel. I think that's what WCW was trying to do during this era. Use some of the other territory guys or WWE guys and get that nostalgia back in the Detroit area. So it was neat. We saw the fireball, and Jerry Lynn and Sabu, to me, had a solid match. This really impressed me with how well this was. There were some spots that were really nice. The drop kick to Sabu, and then Sabu doing, crazy stuff off the top rope. They were fearless.
Yeah. It was definitely, definitely. I remember working a show with Sabu, and that man, I'm not sure what type of match he's going to be in on Saturday at your show, Coastal Championship Wrestling up in Nashville. But he is he's an older gentleman. He's been around the business forever. He has no fear. I mean, he will take a jump off, a 2-story building into barbed wire if he has to. I mean, he is one of those guys that is willing to put his body on the line.
Yeah, and it shows because they had some close-ups of his back, and I was like, dear God, that looks terrible. But it was good for a short match. It was only at 325. So once you start getting into it, blink and it's all over, which I wish they would have shortened the next match because that one seemed to go on forever.
Yeah, and speaking of the next match, it was Lex Luger, the total package, taking on Ming. He won by disqualification.
Yeah, that was a weird finish. We talked about Colonel Parker. I guess too, going back to the toward the end, Lex Luger was teasing going to the Dungeon of Doom. So Kevin Sullivan, this character of the Taskmaster, which was odd. I mean, Kevin Sullivan was creative, but this was definitely one of the weirdest characters. And he kicks Ming, and Ming's like, "What you doing? I hit him with the spike. I was going to win the match, and you kicked me." And then they're fussing. But Ming's a legit tough guy, man. Luger, this wasn't a bad match, but Luger, no disrespect, but he only had the clotheslines and the power slam, and there wasn't a lot you were going to get out of this match as far as technical. It's going to have to be a brawling match.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Luger always had the look, but he just didn't. He never had it for me. And it was this whole Dungeon of Doom thing. It sounds fun on paper, but then they have the master. What was his name? The big fat guy. He was. Whoever, Uncle Fester. It's like I couldn't understand a word he was saying. It's like spit out the rocks that you're chewing on right now, and he talked forever. His interviews that he has, and I've watched a couple other ones. I'm like, dude, just get to the point, because I don't. You know the Ultimate Warrior speeches where he's rocket ship and everything. He doesn't have a point, but this guy was going nowhere. Slow.
I think it was Star Wars Jabba the Hutt is where they got the character.
Yeah, I've never understood the Dungeon of Doom. It's just there's some people that I've talked to people that actually like the Dungeon of Doom, and to Mike's point, he said it looked good on paper, but everything looks good on paper until you have to execute it. There's a lot of stuff in WCW that would great in the, in the booking room. They said, "Oh, this looks great. Let's put together a bunch of nobodies and the Giant and Kevin Sullivan and oh my God, not Earthquake, but the Shark, that guy.
Yeah.
And then the big fat guy, the bald guy who mumbled like he had rocks in his mouth.
Hey guys, I've got an idea.
Okay.
Bear with me. I've got an idea. We got this giant guy. He's really tall.
Yeah.
Let's wrap him in toilet paper that looks used. Now, we could call him the Mummy, but that's not creative enough. Let's not call him the Yeti. Let's call him the Yeti, and everybody will fall for this thing. I'm telling you, it's gold.
Oh my God! I mean,
one of the greatest characters. I mean, I can say it with laughing. That's
okay.
That's
I'm gonna spoil the end of the last match. But what was his finisher? The dry hump? Because I don't know what he was doing. I mean, it makes sense for a mummy to do a dry hump. I mean, go figure. But what was he doing? We'll talk about it then.
I have no idea. We'll get there. That's a good point. Actually, a great point.
Oh my God! Well, I think we should do an entire show on the Yeti and
that would work,
and how crappy it was. You could use a toilet paper because it was just a crappy idea.
Yeah, the worst gimmicks. There you go.
Oh man! Moving on to the next match of the evening, we had Sting and Ric Flair taking on Brian Pillman and Double A Arn Anderson, and they won by disqualification. I mean, this is a match full of people that are awesome in the ring and also awesome on the mic. Your thoughts on this, Mike?
Yeah,
this could have been the last match of the pay-per-view.
But it wasn't.
We could have dropped everything else because after that point, it fell off the cliff. It really did, or off the roof, or wherever.
Literally,
yeah. But this was, I mean, you have Hall of Famers all around doing Hall of Fame stuff, and you know Ric Flair is going to come out at some point, but you don't know how he's going to come out, and you got to see Sting hold his own and rally back, and then Flair comes out, gets the big pop, and then the turn again. But it was a good match. It was fun. Again, they should have stopped here.
Yeah. Mike, I'm not Mike. Tyler, what is your thoughts on this match, which have four great wrestlers, but I don't know.
I think it just shows the genius of the Horsemen, Anderson, Pillman, and Flair, and Sting going along with it. Because I love the way that they set up the story with Shivani and Heenan saying, well, Flair's been injured. Sting's not arrived at the building. Like, he didn't even realize it till he showed up. And, the bandage, everything Flair did was great. He was like Mike saying, getting that heat, going after Pillman, Anderson, like he really was wanting to hurt him, never touching him, though. And then when Sting finally got on the offense to get the tag, enough energy, then he hits him. It just sold it so well. But I'm with you. This should have been the main event. This should have ended it. Because that was a great match. Yeah. I
mean, it was definitely, I always love whenever the commentators are like, the wrestler's not here. And it's people believe that. It's like, well, the match is about to go on and no one has asked, hey, where's Ric Flair? Where's the wrestler? I mean, they wait till the last minute to freak out.
Mm-hmm.
That just seems kind of odd. But I mean, I've noticed that 3 of these matches on the card all ended in disqualification. That is just, I mean, I'm not a big disqualification person, but the thing that I am not a fan of is the next match. It was taped the day before. It was a monster truck match. Hulk Hogan taking on the Giant. Oh my God. And your thoughts on this glorious monster truck match. I mean, they're crappy, those two wrestlers, when they wrestle in the ring, but when they're doing a monster truck match, really? Monster truck match?
I don't even know where to start on this. I mean, it was big at the time period in the 90s, monster trucks and wrestling kind of went together. They had their theme trucks. So, I mean, I can see where it kind of fit in, but the whole time I'm like, what is the point? I mean, are they going to push each other off the roof? Is it, I didn't get it, and it did nothing to warm me up to their match that was, going to come soon enough.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler, what were your thoughts? I know you were a big monster truck fan, so I'm sure this really excited you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the monster trucks. It was definitely different. I think the concept, it goes back to your point. When booking it, it looked great on paper, but when they executed it, it's like, well, this is kind of hokey. And then we got kind of the early cinematic without knowing it. It went the Boneyard match. It was the John falling off the roof overhaul, and Hogan going, "Oh, I got to get help. I've got to get, he's dead." They were really saying the deal with him being Andre's son. I didn't like that. I think with Heenan there, that was just not in. And Bischoff's even said that was not in good taste. That's one of those he would have loved to take back. That was just not a
And it didn't fool anybody.
No, it didn't. You could tell it what they didn't look like other than being 7 foot something.
Right.
I felt maybe not. I did not fall for it hook, line, and sinker. But before we talk about the last two matches of the night, I know Tyler, you have some other podcasts that you're on and some great articles that you write. Tell us about the other shows that you're on and where people can find your articles.
Well, they can find the articles at alleverythingentertainment.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and that's where you can find links to it, or just search alleverythingentertainment.com. I host Tyler's Take Podcast, and I'm also not only the co-host on this show, the Retro Wrestling Rewind, but there's another show called the Rewind Wrestling Radio. It used to be Jolt and Joe's Wrestling Radio. He has since retired, but we do more of the current stuff, and we'll probably have some CCW guests on to promote that show because one of the wrestlers, Phoenicius, is one of our co-hosts, so he's given us that connection. So that's pretty cool, and just been lucky and blessed to be with you guys, putting up with me because let me tell you, these gentlemen have some great perspective and knowledge. So
I don't know who he's talking about, Mike, but I guess he's talking about us. But I mean, I know that you
talking about the Zodiac.
No, not the Zodiac.
That would be great to do an entire show with wrestling figures, where the wrestling figures are, and that'd be a great epic idea. That sounds like a good idea. We'll put it in the bank. But yeah. Mike, if people want to come and look at your creations, how can they find you on Facebook?
I'm on typically YouTube's the big one that I'm on, and that is just Mike Steyer. If you search that up, I have probably about 100 videos on different customs that I've done, and I've got another one coming in just a second, as well as some rings. I did a Halloween Havoc ring. I did it well before we were going to watch this thing because I'm a big fan of Halloween, and I thought it would be cool. And so quite a few of those on there. I'll walk people through how to do different LJN customs, the paint jobs, and things like that. So again, it's just Mike Steyer on YouTube, and I have fun doing it and helping people to work on customs.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got some great work. I gotta bring him on the other one of the other mini shows that I do. It's called Figuring It Out with the great Josh Mann and the great Fig Father Jerry Monroe. They're going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about wrestling figures and custom wrestling figures. And I just, your work, Mike, is awesome. I mean, your rings are amazing. And if you haven't seen his work, just go on YouTube, just type in his name, Mike Steyer. It's not hard to find. There's a lot of great stuff. But speaking of great stuff, the next match, Randy Savage, the Total Package Lex Luger. Your thoughts?
Well, I got to see Randy Savage wrestle again. That was a plus for me, but unfortunately it was against El Stifo Lex Luger. And, it just didn't. Yeah, again, another kind of throwaway. It could have been something a whole lot better, but it just, I don't know. I guess it served a purpose, and that was about it.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this amazing match between two living legends? Randy Savage.
One.
Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair caliber, excuse me. No, Jimmy Hart, the best thing about it probably was Lex Luger colliding with the Mouth of South. It was, they were promoting, and we'll talk about that the next match, but that was just odd. I mean, Jimmy Hart, and it, like Mike said, it just served the angle, the purpose of the storyline, but wasn't crazy about the match, could have did without it, but I think they were doing it to buy more time for the Giant, to be honest. I guess that's the whole motivation for it. I have no idea.
I mean, I wish they hadn't bought more time for the Giant, but that's neither here nor there. But getting to the main event of the evening, for the title. The Giant with the Taskmaster, Master, Jesus, taking on Hulk Hogan with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. I can't believe I actually talk and words come out. But what were your thoughts on this amazing match to end the evening?
First of all, they stole the Taskmaster from Marvel Comics, who is one of my favorite bad guys in there. It was awful, horrible. I don't know. It was 14 minutes long, and it seemed like I lost a day of my life watching this match. Clearly, the Giant has a limited repertoire in the ring, and the Hulk Hogan has a less than limited repertoire in the ring, and it was just not pretty by any means. It took forever, and then the end was a piece of art. It was like something we'd never seen before, and hopefully we'll never see again.
I mean, I know tell the fans how it ended if they have not watched this pay-per-view.
Well, what I remember is the end of what was a Hulk Hogan sandwich between the Giant and this mummy creature called the Yeti, and they were just kind of dry humping. It was so bad. Oh my God. Okay, Tyler, go ahead.
No, that I agree with you, Mike. It was bad, but I just want to say it seemed like Hogan was wanting to create that Andre magic of WrestleMania 3. That's really what, to me, it seemed. They were in Detroit. They even mentioned that. You had Heenan on commentary, so they were definitely trying to get that nostalgia feel. And then Hogan with the marks on his forehead like Kevin Sullivan.
And no mustache.
No, yeah, and that was
weird. So weird.
Yeah, how can it's like Gene Okerlund without his? I mean, you just imagine. It's just crazy. And the match did go too long. They really had more time than some of the better matches. I mean, what was going on? And then, to me, the Giant coming right back out. I know he had to, but they didn't. They could have sold that even a little longer. But then Michael Buffer, and all of a sudden, here he comes, the Taskmaster, and they were making him seem supernatural, I guess, because the Dungeon of Doom. But yeah, the Yeti, that was a terrible gimmick. When I was a kid, it worked because I didn't know any better. But looking back now, it's like, gee, what was going on there during that era? And even people that were there. I mean, even Bischoff has said he's like, yeah, that was some stuff, some of the worst ideas I've had, it was doing that.
Yeah,
so that was Bischoff. I was trying to think of who it was.
Oh, well, probably not just him, the whole booking committee, but he was definitely climbing up the ladder, wasn't he, David? Wasn't he one of the head guys at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it may have been the time Flair may have also been on the booking committee, and whoever, I mean.
But who's sitting in a meeting going, this sounds like a great idea?
I guess Halloween's the only excuse. Let's get the toilet paper guy. That's not a good one, but that's a far fetch.
Yeah, I mean that's I don't know. And folks, I'm not sure what we're going to cover next week because everythingentertainment.com may just cancel us. They may say, let's just not have you on. But if you want to vote on what we cover next week, go to our Twitter page. It's the RW Rewind on Twitter and on Facebook, and just tweet us what you want to watch on the show. I mean,
it's my fault. They let me choose, and leave it to me.
Yeah, well, you did choose, but I could have said no. But I decided I would say sure. But coming up at the top of the hour at 11 o'clock. Unfortunately, Mike has to go to bed because he's got to go to work. Those job things. God.
I'm a teacher, everybody. I need my sleep. I teach middle scores.
Oh my God! Anyway, coming up at the top of the hour, I will be back with the great Tyler Peters on the Retro TV Rewind, and tell everybody what we are going to be covering at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. That's 10 o'clock Central.
We're going to be talking and covering the pilot episode of a very funny show, Mike, King of Queens. We're talking that. So that's a classic, man.
Yeah, did you say funny?
Well, to me, it is. Maybe not to you. Hey, I did pick the Halloween Havoc 95.
Oh, yeah. 0 for 2.
So Mike can really, he can start getting, firing shots at me. Like, Tyler, I hope they're not letting him being creative for that promotion.
I mean, King of Queens, Kevin James. I'm sorry, it's no Yeti. I'm sorry. I apologize. Maybe the Yeti will make an appearance on King of Queens. The Yeti, not really.
We look for Halloween Hardcore Heaven. That's what's going to happen. He's going to come out at the end. Yeah.
But before we sign off on this fine broadcast for today on this Monday, which will be back, of course, next Monday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, go across the West Coast to take off an hour or two, and you'll know whenever. Any final thoughts on Halloween Havoc 1995?
Franken Beefcake says it was a great show since he's Halloween themed. And I am challenging myself next week. I'm going to make a Yeti, and he's going to be my friend through the rest of these podcasts.
We want to see that.
He'll be up here on my shoulder the whole time.
Is it going to be? It's going to be toilet paper roll.
You might need the toilet paper though.
It's like an angel and a devil on one side. Okay.
Hey Tyler, any final thoughts on Halloween Havoc 1995?
A very unique, weird pay-per-view that I did a terrible job picking so we could tear it apart. But actually, if we get matches, so next time I will not get a vote. I will be outruled.
Oh, man. So on that note, folks, it's been another great show. We don't know what we're going to cover next week. It's going to be on our Twitter. And it's going to be a surprise to us next week, and because I'm going to be picking it, we're not going to give creative control to Tyler ever again. Maybe Mike, I don't know. I'd rather give it to the Yeti or the Zodiac that he made, or maybe Frankenstein. But follow us at the top of the hour, right at 11 o'clock, 10 Central. We're going to be talking King of Queens on the Retro TV Rewind. So for the great Tyler Peters from Nashville and the great Mike Steyer from anywhere in Ohio, but where he currently is. I am David Fine from Bash Street, USA in Atlanta, Georgia. We will see you and talk to you next week. And as always, we'll talk to you in the past.
238 pounds in the black corner. From St. Louis, Missouri.
Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his legs in on the loser.
Number one, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
His opponent weighing 236 pounds in the white corner. From Van Nuys,